sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are. Welcome, everybody, and hello. This is Andrew David. This is Blake Newbar's partner program, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern time. So we are in the midst of a challenge. Some of you guys are still actively participating. Others may be brand new. Others may have already slacked off. And wherever you stand is totally up to you, right? If you're wanting to get going again, now's the time. If you let your diet slack a little bit, you had some pizza or Chinese takeout and you need to get back on the wagon, then do that. If it is reading and if it is working on your business, if it's communication, business relationships, personal relationships, whatever it is that you're challenging yourself to do, today's the day. Now, I gave you Friday. If you guys missed it, go back and watch. Also, you can hop into the Skype group. I gave you guys a handful of questions on Friday to kind of go through, right? 10 questions to help set meaningful goals. Did anybody sit down and actually write out answers to those questions? Lynn did. Good. How was the exercise? Lynn and anybody else that'd like to share. How was the exercise of doing that?
I personally thought it was quite revealing. One or two questions, I really had to sit down and think about it. But I did. So I thought it was a good exercise to do. Thank you.
All right. Well, excellent. Who else? Anybody else? I've been going strong with my working on my goals. Good, Valencia. Currently working on rebranding Facebook pages. Nice. Who else? Nobody? All right. Here's the questions again, guys. These are in the Skype group. I would go back and look at these. I want to talk a little bit about goals, but all 10 of them are here. If you're to fully live your life, what is the first change you would start to make? What would be a home run in your life or career? What would that look like if you started it this week, right? So what are 3 things that would make a big difference? What could we work towards together that would put a huge smile on your face? What would have happened in 3, 6, 12 months? If we were to look back at your life, your career, your business, if it's doing better than you could have expected, what would have happened? Okay, so name 3 things you would love to do before you die. What do you want to accomplish this year, next 10 years? If you could look back 3 years from now, what must have happened? Meaning, if I'm pushing myself, what is that? And then what's your dream for this lifetime? So take some time, guys, answer these. There's a reason for it. So let's kind of look at that. There are 83% of the population has 0 goals. Now, just kind of saying, oh, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that. Okay, if you have a goal in your head, and not just I want to be successful, or I hope my life gets better, or I really want to do that. Like, if you're specific, that's a goal, right? If you give yourself a destination. So people with goals in their heads are 14% of those people. They're 10 times more successful than those without goals. Now, written goals, and I want to kind of add to this, written goals that you review. If you wrote a goal down 5 years ago, you haven't paid attention to it. It's the same thing as maybe having it in your head. If you write it down, you review it constantly. Maybe you reformulate it, but you're conscious of it and putting in the effort for it. Your opportunity for success raises by 30 times. That's a huge difference, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so top reasons why people fail when it comes to achieving goals. First, they choke themselves to death while they're trying to drink water. Good grief. Sorry about that. Okay, not knowing what they want. Now, if you're not sure, it's okay. If you're vague, it's all right. But you've got to put effort in to change that. If you want to achieve your goals, you have to give yourself a destination. It is much like going on a road trip. I've used this example over and over and over again. If you don't give yourself a destination, then it's just a joyride. You can hop in a car and you can drive down the road. Without a destination, it doesn't work. Any of you guys that have had customers, if you reach out and that customer wants you to get there soon because I've got this emergency and they don't tell you the address, good luck. Right? In this case,
Hi,
you're
Jason. I'm on the call right now with
I gotta unmute you, Potato, sorry. So if you guys are in this scenario, you are the customer and you are the business. You're the one playing both roles. If you don't give yourself a destination, then it's going to be a long and difficult trip. Do you make a list when shopping? Yeah, absolutely. I went in the other day. I got up yesterday. So Sierra had bought almond milk creamer for coffee. And in the middle of summer here in Florida, I like iced cold brew. I like cold coffee. And I mean, it's 90 something degrees out. I want it cold. I don't want a hot cup. I want something cold. And I mean, a couple of different kinds, but I like cream in my coffee. And so the other day she got a smooth and creamy creamer. I was like, oh, that sounds great. And then I tried it. And look, I'll do almond milk. I'll do coconut milk. I'm not a big soy milk fan, but I got no problems against a lot of them. This particular brand, I don't know what it was, but I told her it tasted like I was drinking a combination of silky and creamy armpit and foot fungus. And that was about the aftertaste that I had. And I said, I don't think so. I was the first one up yesterday and I'm like, I really want a cup of coffee. And then I looked in the fridge and I went, I'm going to the store. And I went to the store to buy creamer. And I walked out after about $150 in groceries because I was hungry too. And got home. So yeah, Scott's example is exactly right. If you don't walk out with a list, you end up with a whole bunch of shit in your life that doesn't make sense, right? If you're trying this business and you haven't given yourself a goal, if you're trying to get in better shape, but you haven't defined what that means, if you're trying to do something, but you haven't given yourself a destination, then you're going to struggle with it. A common misconception is that a goal is a limitation, a barrier. Well, I don't want to put any limits on myself. I don't want to go after something and think that's all I'm going to get. That's a misrepresentation of what a goal is versus dreams and everything else. A goal doesn't mean that's my final destination. I go to the grocery store, doesn't mean that's the only time I'm ever going to eat food, right? Doesn't mean it's the only time I'm ever going to get in the car and drive. I can keep modifying that as I go, but without some kind of destination, that's going to be a difficult ride. So not knowing and vague goals. So define what they are. Now, your motives are not compelling. Lack of focus, forgetting, weak willpower, not having clear deadlines. The deadlines go with goals, vague goals, or not knowing what you want. Lack of focus is something we all deal with. We get caught up. Part of this is that priority, right? So motives are not compelling, prioritization, and lack of focus. Having a conversation with a possible client earlier today, not here, something else from my digital agency. And we're talking about they've got something, they had this career over here and they've switched and they've created this course, this training about breath work, about growth, about personal development. And it's totally different. This is a different person. It's interesting because last week, I think I was sharing a doctor that had kind of made this transition into yoga and how powerful it was and balancing out the science and the medicine. This was another scientist with multiple PhDs, university professor, a different university at University of Oklahoma, multiple times featured on the news already for different things in their given niche. And then now they're talking about breath work and what it does for stress and cortisol and personal development and all of these other things. And it wasn't just that, there was more to it. But we were talking and they didn't really have a goal, didn't have a destination in mind. They just kind of wanted to, get the word out. They wanted to talk a little bit. And granted, I think part of it is, transitioning after decades in academia into business and entrepreneurship and needing to say, hey, you've got to figure out who your audience is going to be. You got to figure out what you want to do with it. Is this important enough to you? This project that you've been spending time on, in their words, almost like this second life, this hidden secret life that they had for decades, because there's a scientist and then there's breath work and, this personal journey. Like, it's so different. And now they're getting the word out. They're changing. They left what they were doing. They're changing. They're trying to get more out. Well, what is it you want to, is it just a passion project? Do you just want to help people know? Do you want to actually make a living from it? Is it okay if we just teach some seniors in the local care home? Like, you want to help them and maybe extend or increase the quality of life that they have, or local community classes, or you want to do something free and just kind of like, what is it you want to do? And until he decides on that, there's not going to be a whole lot that I can do. I can't convince him to do anything. And, his motivation has got to be there. Same thing for you guys. What's the motivation, right? What is it that's pushing you? And then are you giving yourself a timeline? And is there enough passion behind it? So this is like, I didn't get into digital marketing because I'm passionate about Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Google. It's not why I did it. Right? My passion behind it was because I had a family and kids and bills and everything else. Now it allowed me to start to, as I started swimming in these waters of business, and then I started recognizing my personal growth during that journey and how intertwined those things were. And then that piqued my interest more. And then so that's allowed it to expand. But I gave myself specific targets to achieve during that time. So one of the questions in chat is, how do we know if the plans we do are not just part of the laid out plan or shiny object? Are you constantly switching from your target, right? So part of this is defining kind of those dreams versus goals versus tasks, right? So a lot of the shiny objects kind of fall in between tasks or dreams. What often happens with the shiny object is it allows us to avoid tasks that we get frustrated by. Oh, it's something new. So I've started this journey here, and let's say it's weight loss or overall health. Like, I'm in my mid 40s. My dad died when he was 48. Health, cholesterol, my heart, all of those things are incredibly important to me because I want to live to, be there at my kids' weddings. I want to live to see grandkids, all that kind of stuff, right? Like, that stuff's important for me. So every single fad, if I'm jumping from one fad diet to another, that's shiny object. If I have a baseline consistent, structure to what I'm doing. And if what happens oftentimes is it'll be, I don't know, it'll be getting on the treadmill or on the Stairmaster or finding something else that I don't necessarily enjoy doing, but I know is going to be good for my heart and everything else. And then I go, oh, but if I do this keto, and nothing wrong with keto, I've done it, it worked for me, whatever, or this new pill or this new thing, I won't have to work as much. I can skip this step. I could do that, right? So it's the same type of thing. If generating a certain amount of revenue is what you need in order to live the life that you need to do, or pay your bill or take care of the kids or whatever, if I'm jumping from one thing to another without giving any of them time to mature, then that's shiny object. Right? And think about it from a farmer's perspective the same way. Like, I've got to plant the seed, I've got to nurture the seed, I've got to give it a chance to grow, because if other people are doing that process and they're actually sprouting and growing, and I'm not giving it enough time to do that, and I start planting other crops and other crops and other crops, and it's not there yet. Pull them out, yank them. That's shiny object. FOMO, yeah, fear of missing out and fear of, I don't know what BO. I know what BO is, but can dominate decisions, awareness, intention can be impactful. Yeah, you've got to keep yourself focused. Okay. You can pivot at times. So go watch. If you guys missed it, watch the call I did with Blake not too long ago. One of the last calls that I did with him. And we kind of talked about this, about knowing when to pivot and when to stay the course. We spent a few minutes talking about it, and I loved his perspective on it, but go watch that one. It would be worth watching. So I'll give you guys these slides because there's a couple of other things that I think are kind of cool. This habits of successful people, tracking your progress, learning from mistakes. And this is a big one because too many people blame their mistakes on others. You've got to recognize your mistakes. I can almost always tell if someone's going to find a certain level of success, or if they're ready for it, because some of, oh, I've done these programs. Great. Why do you think they didn't work? If every single reason that it didn't work was based on the program, the software, the leader of that program, this and that, if it was all external, then the person's going to suffer. If they're willing to say, you know what, there wasn't as much contact as I would have liked. However, I had the access to this and I didn't do X, Y, Z. I could have done this better. I could have spent more time there. I could have had more patience. If I increase my skill here, that's a big part of it. You've got to have that mirror in front of you looking at things, exuding joy, forgiving others, knowing your purpose and mission. Great habits here to kind of look at. So I've talked about this before. I've got cards that I put down goals on daily. I've got the affirmations that I'm doing every single day. Make sure that you are consistently growing your brain. Read, stay healthy, give yourself a program. Your body, your mind affect your business in a bigger way than you can imagine. Adapt, surround yourself with great people, be persistent, and pursue your own goals and dreams and not somebody else's. Man, if there's anything I can say is make sure that they're your goals and not somebody else's goals. Right? Good Lord, too many of us did. I did it for years, and a lot of us have. So it's not about what they achieved. It's not about what, your wife wants you to do, or your husband wants you to do, or what mom and dad always told you should do. Make them your goals. Create an overall balance plan and get out there. So I'm going to share those slides with you, a couple of things there. But guys, a couple of you guys got on here late. Make sure that you jump into these 10 goals. Spend a few minutes answering these. And if you've got questions on them, let me know. Okay. So on that note, I'm going to let you guys go. I want you to get to work some. Think about those. Write down your goals, figure out what you need to do to work on that. But yeah, later this week, so probably Wednesday, we are going to get into ads. Okay, Facebook ads. If that scares you, that's great. Show up and just treat it like any type of training that gives you, it's like your first day at a job where you're not going to understand half of what you hear, but we're starting to build out the foundation, right? We're just getting accustomed to what we're hearing. Some of you guys may never run ads, and that's fine. But if you understand some of the stuff that's there, it can be beneficial even on your organic lead generation, the stuff you do without paying for ads. Even understanding how to go after ads can help you with that. Okay? All right. Appreciate you guys. Have an amazing day. Sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are.